Pet's Life Coach. I am Carrie Hyde. I'm your host and your Pet's Life Coach. And I usually plan a little bit more about who I'm going to be speaking to, what I'm going to be speaking about. And so I have a little bit, but truthfully, I just got really angry yesterday at another ear infection that I think could have been prevented. Well, I think all ear infections are preventable. So it's just a day in and day out that I see these ear infections. And I spend a lot of time during the day talking with my clients about how do we prevent them, how do we stop them once they've started. It's I was just talking to Lori, who is just fabulous and helps me do all the computer side of it. And she's just so brilliant at that stuff. And we work really well together. But I was just telling her, it is going to be really, really difficult because I am a type of person that wants you to know everything, like every detail. My husband will tell you, I don't need the details. Just tell me the end of the story. But I think that is part of the problem with ear infections, especially now that social media is so active and we can just go straight onto Facebook and we can type in, my dog has an ear infection, what do I do? And we get 5,000 responses. And so we're throwing little things at it here and there. And in some ways we're making it worse because we don't fully dive in and understand what causes the ear infection, why we use what we use, and because we have so many different opinions. And of course, mine is just an opinion, which let me put my little disclaimer out there. For those of you who don't know, I am not a veterinarian. Never have been, never going to be. But I was a vet tech for many, many, many years, and I worked with several different veterinarians. None of them were holistic veterinarians. And when I opened up the spa in Tustin, I was free to kind of learn on my own and figure things out. And so I have worked with animals now, which is very weird for me to say, but I have worked with animals for pretty much 40 years. I keep on going 36, 35, 37, 38. I'm like, dang, if we really go all the way back, which I'm one of these people that truly believe that everything and every day we are learning, even if we don't know it, we see something and we're like, oh, that's bad. And we may not really know that we registered it. So every single day, I think we can learn something, good, bad, whatever it is, and we take it with us. So all of those times I worked with non-holistic minded veterinarians were lessons for me. And now I get the opportunity not to work in their stores, but I'm very fortunate to have some relationships with some holistic veterinarians that I can speak with and communicate with. And then I spend a great deal of time. I'm also very fortunate that my clients trust me. And when I want to use a new product and try something, they know that, it may not work, but let's try this, let's try that. And so tonight, I pushed this to a 5 o'clock because I know a lot of the people that come on here are actually my clients from the spa. So I apologize to those who are following me from the East Coast. I know I pushed you guys out pretty late. That's why I do a 4 o'clock. Normally on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock, I do 4 o'clock because I'm trying to help both ends of the country. And so, but tonight I pushed it out to 5 o'clock because I just did. I don't know. I'm trying to help everybody. But I will tell you that I am going to try my hardest, guys. I'm going to try my hardest not to get angry because I feel like it's a battle. It's a battle that is never ending. And it's such a preventable thing. And so I think that's what frustrates me the most is how preventable this is. And I don't mean like your dog, gets an ear infection and it goes away and it never comes back. I mean preventable as in no dog ever should get a ear infection in the way that I'm talking about, which we are going to talk about different types of ear infections because I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that there are types of ear infections that we need to be careful of and know. And that's the other problem I have is that when we go on Facebook and we say my dog has an ear infection, there could be a foxtail in there. The ear canal looks like this. And what you guys can see is right up here. And of course you can smell it and you can, your dog's scratching and he's going crazy. But sometimes there could be something down in that ear canal. And so a vet is always recommended, absolutely, to have a vet look down in there and get an actual diagnosis from a licensed veterinarian. Hopefully there aren't veterinarians out there that aren't licensed, but I'm sure there probably are. People who say they're a vet and maybe not licensed. I don't know, but let's not go off on that tangent, because I have so much that I am going to try my hardest to get to the points for you guys. And I know for some of you, you're going to be listening going, yeah, just tell me the protocol. And some of you are going to be like, I need to know. I don't understand. And maybe we might even have some people on here who, and hopefully, because we really can, you do not want to go down this road of ear infections. Because it can be a battle. It can be expensive. It's very painful to your dogs. And so I apologize for those of you who, want to get to the protocol, which I am not even saying is a bad thing. I'm a get to the protocol person once I trust somebody. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that for you tonight, because I have to speak to so many different types of people that are going to be on here. I also want to say, if you have questions, go for it. I'm going to try to get to questions, but I'm going to try to stay on track a little bit so I can take you guys through this, so you can kind of understand. Because I think, I'm an admin for a lot of Facebook pages, and I take that back. I'm an admin for one Facebook page, but I look at other ones and try to help out other Facebook pages. So I see this, and it's a big problem. If you follow me on any of the social media, you'll see this from me a lot. Can I see a picture? Can I see a picture before I give advice, before I give my opinion? Because I don't like to just assume that we know what we're talking about when things are going on. So anyway, let's dive into this, guys. So ear infections. Number one reason, in my opinion, some vets in different areas of the country may seem differently, but in my opinion, and I will say I think that they're equal, but the number one reason that vet dogs would come when I was working for a vet is for ear infections. The number two, and I won't even say number two, I'm sure they're probably equal, is allergies, which a lot of times vets will say your dog has an allergy and that's why he has an ear infection. So it goes on and on and on. But it's important that we talk about it, because it is flooding our veterinarian offices, which, should be able to focus on something that might be, I don't want to say more serious, because I think an ear infection is very serious. It means there's an imbalance in your dog's body, in his gut, in his body, in his skin, in his ear. There's an imbalance. So it's important, because those imbalances can lead to so many other things that may actually be detrimental, as far as deadly to your animal. So I don't want to say an ear infection is not, and it also can lead to your dog, head tilting and not being, his balance gets off. That's a whole nother subject we can talk about. But specifically what I want to talk about is a couple of things that can cause an infection or cause your dog to be itching and scratching. I mentioned foxtails getting down into the ear. If I didn't, sometimes I feel like I did, but I just did yesterday. So your dog can also have foxtails in there. There could be a growth in there, a tumor. There could be any number of things that are causing that itching that's going on. Sometimes a dog can be itching and scratching his ear, but he actually has some dental problems, which is why if your dog is scratching his ear, I really don't want you to just go to Facebook and ask questions. Please take your dog to the veterinarian and have a veterinarian look inside their mouth, make sure we don't have broken, cracked teeth, because you could be cleaning out this ear and doing all the stuff that I'm going to tell you today, and all the while we have actually a broken tooth, infection in the mouth, even into the nose cavity, there can be problems. So please, before you use any of the protocols that I'm going to be talking today, get a diagnosis from a veterinarian. I can't stress that enough. I don't want to be the cause of more cost to you, more pain to your dog, more anything. I want to help you guys. So please make sure your veterinarians, if you are having trouble finding a good veterinarian, please ask me. I can recommend some amazing veterinarians that can help you. Depending on what part of the country you are in. I know I have a couple people that were going to be listening from a different country. Unfortunately, I don't know any vets outside of the US, but I'll find them for you if I have to. Okay, so here we go. We talked about things being inside your dog's ear canal that can cause it. We talked about dental areas, why they'd be itching in the general area, and that we're going to go to the veterinarian. Another reason we want to go to the veterinarian is because sometimes the thyroid, if your dog's thyroid is off, if it could be causing some ear infections as well. So we want to make sure that we're running some labs. Remember, two things I want to say about this. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Judy Morgan because she has a class you can take to learn how to read labs. But when you just take your dog to the veterinarian and say, I want to run some labs, you have to be specific, because if you want thyroid run, it's a separate test. And so you want to make sure that your thyroid is being run and make sure that our endocrinologist, the endocrine system is working correctly. So I think I just said that wrong, but anyway, let's keep going. All right, so we want to make sure that our thyroid is okay. We want to make sure that we don't have anything down in there, nothing in the mouth, those kind of problems. So once we know, and this is what we're mostly going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about yeast and bacterial infections within the ear canal. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be talking about. The other stuff is stuff that you need to deal with your veterinarian and making sure. So please say hi too if you guys are on there. I always wonder, am I just talking to dead air? Is anybody listening? So just say hi. It makes me keep going a little bit. So we're going to talk about some things that we're doing as pet parents that could actually be causing your problem. Now, this is going to be really weird, and I'm probably going to take a little bit of backlash for this. So, but that's okay. When you are thinking of the ear, I want you guys, hi, thanks guys. When you are thinking of, thank you guys, I'm like, oh, I'm just dead air. No one's here. I guess I'll just go off. When you're thinking of the ear, and this is where I'm probably going to get a little bit of backlash, but stay with me, okay? Because I'm going to explain it. I want you as pet parents or people who are working in the industry to think of the ear canal different than you think of. I'm waving to you guys. I'm waving to you. By the way, give me a shout out. How many groomers are here? If you guys are a groomer, raise your hand, because I'm gonna blame you and not blame you here in a minute. So don't get mad. So when we're thinking of the ear, I want you to think of them separate. I know we've been taught, and believe me, I know we're taught that the gut is connected to everything, right? And that we have to have a healthy gut in order to have a healthy system. And that's not untrue. But for now, I just want you guys to think of the ear as a totally separate entity than the gut. They aren't, but I want you to. Because what's happening is we're getting these ear infections, and then we're treating the gut, which is great because I'm going to have you treat the gut also. But what we're not remembering or we don't know is that the microbiome, we have microbiomes all over. Our eyes have their own microbiome, our heart, our mouth, our ears, our skin, and our gut are all their own individual microbiomes. Now, what people don't realize is different bacteria live on your dog. And by the way, I apologize because you guys all know I'm a huge cat person. But I'm mostly going to be talking about dogs in this because cats don't tend to have the same ear issues. And I actually know the reason for that, but we'll talk about that later. So we're going to be talking about dogs and not kitties. But if you do have a specific cat question, we can do it. So when we're just addressing the gut and we're not realizing that this little entity over here has different bacteria that live in it, your dog has different bacteria that live on his nose, then live on his skin, then live in his ears, then live in his gut. So these bacteria all choose where they're going to live based on what is their perfect environment. So the ear canal of your dog obviously is going to have a healthy dog's ear. Healthy, remember, because I know you're going to all gasp when I say this, but your dog's ear, a healthy ear is actually got some moisture in there, right? If you stick your finger in your ear, it's going to be more moist in your ear than it is if you touch the side of your hand. So different bacteria live in different parts. That's why the nose has different bacteria. That's why the groin area, the rectum area, all of those areas have different bacteria that live there. So when we're trying to do certain things to the ear canal, we forget that when you're using, and I'm going to give it an example of this because I hear this a lot. In fact, I think it was Wednesday night when Marnay from Sailor and Friends contacted me about an ear infection that she's dealing with. She brought it up and I was like, you know what? This is part of why I wanted to talk about this. So you guys all know, for those of you who have been following me, and if you haven't, you should know that when we use an antibiotic, right? So if you go and put your dog on an antibiotic, we all know that it doesn't just kill the good bacteria, the bad bacteria, it also kills the good bacteria. So the problem is we're forgetting that this ear canal on your dog also has its own microbiome. And so if we're putting ear cleaners in there, antibacterials, any of those kind of things, we are disrupting that natural microbiome that lives within the ear, what makes that ear canal healthy and happy and live about its life. And so it's really awful because this starts out, my cat is jerking my camera around. So just know that. I have a dog that was exposed to environmental mold for a long period of time with chronic ear infections, or should I say inflammation, because her ears are not dirty. Yeah, we'll talk about it. There's all sorts of those kind of things, right? That, environmental mold, we're going to have a very moist area. And so you find different things that can live in those areas. And think about it in terms of that, right? Like what grows in your house, right? Where does mold grow? It grows where there's water. It's interesting because then what you can get is you tell people, oh, dry out the canal. So a lot of those ear cleaners that start out, by the way, if we go all the way back to when your dog was a puppy, actually we'll go further back. So your dog should have been born with the right amount of gut bacteria and skin and eyes and all of that should be set at birth. Unfortunately, a lot of our dogs nowadays are not set at birth with the proper amount of everything that they need in order to survive. And then what happens, because they get those bacteria that are passed down from mom. So then what happens is you take your dog to the vet. In general, even if you guys didn't take your dog to the vet, if you got your dog from a breeder, or even if you got the dog from the pound, there's a good chance somebody bred that dog or he was born on the streets or whatever the case is. The first time in general, we take a dog to a veterinarian, a conventional veterinarian, is the first thing they're going to do is they're going to deworm your dog immediately, and they're going to disrupt that gut microbiome. Then they're going to vaccinate, give you flea and tick medication and heartworm medication. We're going to further destroy the gut microbiome. Then they're going to put you on a not so healthy food, which we're going to talk about diet, because trust me, you are going to be mind blown, hopefully a little bit. If not, then you're on track with me and we should talk. So then what they're going to do, which is the thing that drives me absolutely crazy, is they're also most likely going to give you an ear cleaner, depending on the type of dog, which we're going to talk about floppy ears and erect ears here in a second. They're going to give you an ear cleaner. And what they're going to do is say, oh, you have a floppy eared dog, and he's prone to ear infections because he's a golden doodle or he's a cocker spaniel or whatever reason they give you that they want you to buy their ear cleaner and then clean the dog's ear every, I've heard all the way up to 2 to 3 times a week. The problem with that is that you shouldn't have to clean your dog's ear ever at all, ever. Now, I don't know where my dogs are right now, but I have shown their ears before, and I will go all the way back before with my dogs generationally. Once I figured this out, which it took me a long time to get it figured out, trust me. But once I got this figured out, I have had Goldens and Hobbit, and my Goldens forever. And then I have had Dachshunds, and then I have my Havanese right now. All of those dogs, according to conventional medicine, says that those dogs should all have chronic ear infections because they have ears that flop down. And so somehow, because no airflow gets in there, that is the cause of their ear infections. And so what's interesting about that to me is one of the breed of dogs that I get in the spa that has the most ear infections that I see is actually the German Shepherd, which his ears are erect. So I don't really know how vets are going to argue that one, because they have erect ears and they get a lot of ear infections. So, anyway, I think because they're overbred and moms don't have the gut bacteria to be passed down. So let's talk. Let's dive into this, guys. Okay. So I just want to make sure we're separating. We're going to be talking about your dog's microbiome inside his ear. and how are we going to feed that and what we're going to do in order to prevent it from getting I'm sorry, Lily, I can't answer that right now, but I will in a minute. Give me a second. So we're going to be talking about what we clean the dog's ears with. And what you're going to hear me say is nothing. Nothing. You should not be cleaning your dog's ears twice a week, once a month, every 6 months, once a year, every 9 years, every 10 years. Your dog, if he has a great balance in his body and in his ear, should not have to have his ear cleaned. So, wow, I just let you guys off the hook. You don't ever have to clean your dog's ears. I have never cleaned my Havanese ears or my Golden's ears. I will take a little bit because she never gets an ear infection, but she tends to have a little bit of waxier ear, and sometimes I clean it out. But I don't always. Sometimes I just leave it. In fact, I took her to the vet to have her taurine levels checked not too long ago, and for some studies that I'm doing. And the vet, of course, was like, her ear's really dirty. Do you want me to clean it? I'm on, no, leave her ear alone. Leave it. It's not inflamed. It's not red. She doesn't scratch at it. There's nothing, which you guys need to know. Sometimes your dog, just because some stuff's coming out of his ear, doesn't mean there's an infection in there. So that's the other reason why I want you to take him to the vet. So, okay. So once you know that, if you have a puppy or you have a dog who we don't have any problems with their ears, stop cleaning them. You're going to disrupt, you're basically, especially depending on what you're cleaning with. I looked up on Amazon just before I went on because I wanted to see some of the ear cleaners that are out nowadays because I haven't looked at that forever, but I was just curious. And I found a whole lot of alcohol-based ear cleaners. I saw one that said this one has all sorts of moisturizers in it and acids and all this stuff. And, some of them are actually sold by veterinarians. I've seen it. And it's interesting to me because if it's alcohol based, then it's going to be drying. And if it's got all these moisturizers in it and it's going to keep the ear more moist than it should, both of those could be a problem, because if the ear is too dry, it's not going to get the bacteria that it needs to live in there. And if it's too moist, the same thing's going to happen. So that's why I don't want you guys to mess with your dog's ears once you get them under control, because that's why it happens. You go to the vet, they give you some kind of antibiotic. Sometimes they'll put that pack down in there and then they tell you to keep cleaning. Well, you've disrupted the microbiome of the ear. So we want to be really careful with that. I wrote down some little notes. So if you keep seeing me looking over here. So colloidal silver, I'm going to bring this one up because this one is a big one. Everybody wants to, if I go on to any Facebook page or wherever, and I'm looking at my dog has an ear infection, I am guaranteed to see at least 10 people shout out, get colloidal silver, use it every week, it'll be fine. The problem with that is colloidal silver is an antibacterial. So it can actually cause a disruption and then cause you to get into that vicious cycle where, yes, it's working because I have to keep using it. And what I'm trying to get to you guys is that I want to get you to a point where, guess what? You never have to clean your dog's ears ever again. So I don't want you to use colloidal silver. I don't want you to be cleaning your dog's ears and constantly going in there. And then one other thing, I said, groomers, raise your hand. And before I call out groomers, I'm going to let you know, A, I'm a groomer. B, I am probably the most guilty person of this. So in such a bad way that it's embarrassing for me sometimes to talk about it. But I worked for a veterinarian one time who used to steal clients from groomers in the area because the dog would come in and maybe the ears weren't plucked. And we're going back years ago before people started questioning the plucking thing. So it was just, they were being lazy or they forgot or they were too busy, whatever it was. They didn't pluck the ears. And he would always be like, oh, well, my groomer's here. That was me a lot of times. My groomer's here and she always plucks the ears. And so I would pluck those ears clean, like nobody's business. I was the best ear cleaner. I still am. If I have an infection, I still am the best ear cleaner on the planet, but I am never going to pluck ear hair. The only reason I will ever pluck ear hair is if the vet needs to see down in there. So the vet can't see, they want it plucked, but usually the vet can do that themselves. So I leave ear hair alone, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But groomers are afraid because vets are telling them they have to pluck these ear hairs. Although I will tell you, there's a lot of vets now that are saying absolutely not. We got to stop. And it makes sense, right? It was given to us through nature. Why are we we plucking them. The argument there is that all of the moisture stays in there, the hair stays wet, the bacteria lives on the hair, all of that kind of stuff. So I have said this many times before. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about ear plucking. I just saw Heidi talk about it. So inside the ear is just black wax, and that is okay. Yes, it can be until we run a culture. Not necessarily, Lily. We really need, that's, I bless our vets. I'm never against vets. I get frustrated because they're not forward thinking and learning more. But it can be every once in a while. I see some stuff. You'll know if it's an infection, right? Infection is going to cause inflammation. You're not going to have an infection with black stuff and no red swollen ear. So the ear is going to be hot to touch if it's infected. So those are good indications whether you have an infection or if you just have a little bit of black waxy stuff that, you can either leave there or you can pull it out if it looks like it's kind of a little more than you need. But what you pull it out with is just as important as whether you pull it out or don't pull it out. So all of that ear hair in there, what happens, I just recently had somebody tell me, and this one is hard. My husband's like, are you going to let it go? And I'm like, I can't let it go. I'm so mad. That a vet told her that inside the ear canal, a dog doesn't have there's no nerve endings in the ear canal. And so the dog can't feel anything. And therefore it's okay to pluck the ear hair because they can't feel it. Although it was funny because in the next sentence she said, but if you do it right, it won't hurt. And I kind of thought that's a contradiction because you just told me it would never hurt because there's no nerve endings. But if that were true, then when our dogs do have an ear infection, then why would they scratch if they couldn't feel anything? So I couldn't believe that a veterinarian told her that. And hopefully she didn't. Sometimes people will do that to me. They'll say, my vet told me, and then I'll call the vet and the vet's like, no, why would I ever say that? But I think it just makes people feel like it makes their argument better. So I don't know whether a vet told her that or not, but I am here to tell you that your dog absolutely does have nerve endings inside his ear. And if you pluck those ear hairs, I don't care how you do it, you can't even see where the end of the hair, like, so you guys can see, I told you, like, if you look at just the top of your finger, you guys can see about that much. But that ear hair is way down here. So I can't see it. How am I going to pluck it correctly or not pluck it correctly? There's nothing you can do except pull. People will argue that there is this ear powder. That's the greatest part when they have no ear hair. That's awesome. Cockers don't generally have ear hair in their ears. A lot of people will argue that if you use that powder, that it makes it so it doesn't hurt. That's absolutely not what that powder is for. What that powder is for is it's called a gripping powder. And what it means is, like, if you're using your fingers or a hemostat on it, that the hair won't slip. So it makes it so that I can grip the hair. It doesn't do anything to the root. Sometimes I think people think that it's like a nair and it's going to pull it out, which it's not. And please, I always say this, don't use nair in your dog's ear hair. Please don't do that. But the reason I don't want you to pluck them, aside from the fact that it hurts. It absolutely hurts your dog to have their ear hair. Now, some dogs over time, they get used to it. So they kind of just accept it. But I'm like, that's so sad to get them used to having their ear hair plucked. But one of the other reasons I don't want you to do it is because what happens is, obviously, like, if I pull hair out of my head, right, I'm going to have little tiny openings in there. And that's a lot of times why groomers get blamed for ear infections. And people will say, oh, you got water in my dog's ear and that's what caused it, which we're going to talk about also. Water doesn't cause ear infections. I promise 100%. I will take that to my grave. Water doesn't cause ear infections. But when you pluck the ears, you could be leaving that open skin area to bacteria getting into spaces it's not supposed to be. And so then we can spark a whole ear infection because it's not supposed to be in the lower part of the epidermis that's inside the ear. So you want to be really careful. I never, ever, ever, 36 years, and I will not pluck ears. I make my clients go to their vet to have them plucked. The vet can diagnose the ear issues. Yeah, no, it's so much better to do that because we can't just, especially as groomers, I know people want us to just be like, oh, just do it. But we really can't. I don't want to mess up and something's down in there, as Heidi probably knows, the ear canal is, and so glad you're not plucking the ear hair. And we got to stick together, because, oh my God, I have to tell my clients specifically, I'm not plucking these ear hair, because then they'll go to the vet, and then they come back and they're like, my vet said you didn't pluck the ear hair. And I'm like, remember I told you. So anyway, so we're not going to pluck ear hair, because that's what we can do. We can leave the little openings, and when we're plucking it, it ends up getting some bacteria that's not supposed to be that deep into the skin. It leaves it open, and then we can end up getting some problems. Now, again, like Heidi's saying, she sends her clients to the vet, so the vet can pluck them. That's me too. Let your vet pluck them if she needs to look down in there, but I discourage them from plucking them. I hope they never do, but unless they need to see in there for some other reason. Okay, so and we talked about over cleaning them. That can cause it. Plucking them can cause it. Water does not cause ear infections. 100%. Like I said, I'll take it to my grave. So quit blaming your groomer for getting water in the dog's ears. It doesn't cause ear infections. If it did, I would probably have an ear infection all the time, because I get water in my ears all the time. So water doesn't cause it, which is so interesting, because a lot of the cleaners that vets sell, it's like 80% water, 10% alcohol. And then they tell you to jam this stuff down their ear and leave it there. And I'm like, it's such a contradiction in what they're saying. So water doesn't cause it. Plucking can cause it. Over cleaning can cause it. Foxtails can cause it. Using cleaners that are antibacterial, antifungal, because keep in mind, we want some fungus in our body. We to have a good balance, we have yeast and we have bacteria, and that keeps us at bay. It's when we get out of control that we have the problem. And so that's what I'm going to try to keep you guys from doing. So we're going to talk about, we talked about the thyroid, but now we're going to talk about food, because one of the things that people don't realize, like sometimes you get people who go, oh, I changed the food and it fixed everything. And they don't really know why it fixed it. They usually decide, here we go. You're like right on it with me. So a lot of times they'll change the food and they'll say, oh, I changed the food and it worked. But they don't really know why it worked for the ear infection. Most vets will blame it because he was allergic to the other food, which is so interesting to me, because I can take a dog and just change his diet, because I like to do rotational diet. And we'll see differences. If I had a dog that was having an ear infection, we'll change them onto another diet. And I'm going to explain to you why I change dogs onto different diets and what diet I change them on specifically if they have an ear infection. And that is because some ear infections can be caused by deficiencies in the body, particularly zinc deficiencies can cause ear infections to spark. And that's why when they switch food, like if let's say you were eating a food that was a high carbohydrate diet, and then you switch to a chicken diet, it would get even better. It would get even better. Tim, can you help? Ansel. Sorry, guys. It never fails. It never fails. Someone will come to my door when I'm doing this. Ansel, come here, baby. I know. Ansel, come see me. Come here. I know. I'm okay. Okay, it's all good. I know. You come to me. All right. Here's the man. So here is my dog, and I think my father-in-law is coming in, and he's a hot mess. He's gonna give me a hug. How great is this? Here, you guys want to see his ear? So this is my Havanese. I showed his ear the other night. I never pluck his ears. I never clean his ears. We don't do anything. He's getting old. He's almost 13 years old. I know, he's the cutest darn thing ever. But he's going to hug me. He just doesn't like when everything okay? Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's okay. I know. He's here. Okay. So we're going to talk. Now I got distracted. So thank you. Yes, his ears are fabulous. So are my Goldens, and all of my Goldens that I've always had forever. So we're going to talk a little bit about diet and how zinc deficiencies can cause ear infections, and how when you change from one diet to the next diet to whatever diet it is, how it can cause these. I'm sorry, guys. My husband and my friend just got me super distracted. And so now I'm trying to get back on track. So give me a minute. And when we have these foods that we switch to, we've all heard, if you haven't heard, I'm sure you have. And if you haven't, you're going to hear it here first. Carbohydrates are not your dog's friends. your friend. So anytime you're feeding a dog high in carbohydrates, it's going to be lower in meat. Where does zinc come from? Zinc comes from meat. That is where its highest source of it is. So, but more importantly, some of the stuff that they use to put into their food, like rice, particularly any of the grains really, they actually pull zinc out of the body. So it's really interesting. So you can be feeding your dog a whole fresh food diet that has, beef in it, which is a really high concentration of zinc in it. But what will happen is if we're feeding grains and any of this, particularly grains, but I don't like any carbohydrates, but particularly grains, it actually can pull the zinc out of the body. And so your dog's not even getting enough meat because he was eating a food that had carbohydrate in it. And the carbohydrates that they're feeding your animals, because they're cheap, something like a barley or a rice, any of those kind of things, legumes will pull the zinc out of the body as well. So you got all of these anti nutrients, right? They're actually pulling those out of the body. And so we got to be really, really careful with feeding our animals that. So zinc deficiencies are something that almost no one ever looks at. And how do you find out if your dog has a zinc deficiency? You have to find the right veterinarian that knows how to run and does actually run nutrient panels. So most vets, believe me, I've sent my clients, if any of my clients are on here, they can attest to this. We do a keto raw with rotation of foods, no processed treats, foods, no chicken as a protein. Sherry, let me know if your dog is having ear infections, because that's the other thing I want to talk about, is when we are, because I get a lot of people that are like, I'm so confused. I am feeding a species appropriate diet. I'm doing everything right. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm not putting flea and tick medication, and my dog still has ear infection. So that's why I wanted to talk about the over cleaning. I have stopped using the goat wipe for cleaning my dog's feet, and itching feet has gotten better. Yay, that's good. I know those wipes, they usually have some stuff in them. So now I lost my train of thought. Going into the zinc deficiencies and the anti-nutrients that people don't even think about. We talk about how carbohydrates turn to sugar in the body, and the sugar feeds the yeast in the body, because that's the other reason. And when we talk about carbohydrates, we're not talking about soluble carbohydrates. So there's two different types of carbohydrates, right? You have your sugars, your starches, your non-soluble carbohydrates, and then you have your soluble carbohydrates, which your dog needs in order to survive. It's how he gets energy. And he gets it in the wild from eating grasses, berries, the stomach content of other animals, the fur of other animals is actually a good, it's not a carbohydrate, sorry, it's a fiber, but we can get those kind of carbohydrates, but those non-soluble carbohydrates are the ones that can lead your dogs to ear infections. And also, like I told you, not only that, but the replacers that they put in, like peas and legumes and those kind of things, those are anti-nutrients for your dog, and they're going to pull the zinc out of. So if you have a dog who has chronic ear infections and you are doing everything that you can, I have to look up sweet potato as far as whether or not sweet potato actually pulls zinc out of your dog's body. That I'm not positive if it actually is binding to zinc and pulling it. But sweet potato is a carbohydrate that I would not recommend putting in your dog's food. I know people think it's great for the stomach and it can do all that kind of, if your dog's having stool issues, but to my point, if your dog's having stool issues, he's got other problems. He shouldn't have to be given a certain thing in order to control it. So lentils and sweet potatoes, and noticed it made my dog's ears worse. Yeah, well, lentils will pull zinc out of your dog's diet. Absolutely. Squash and potatoes, all of those together, you got a lot of carbohydrates there. Lentils is a carbohydrate as well, but lentils actually pull zinc. So thank you. I'm hoping it's helping you guys, because I have such a hard time getting all of this information to everybody. So you can go and you can do two things about zinc deficiencies. Three things. One, you got to make sure you're not feeding anything, and you can Google it to check because there's a lot of things that will bind zinc and pull it out of your dog's body. So you want to make sure you're looking that up. Find out what it is. I told you a couple of them that I know. But making sure that the food that you're feeding not only has what I was going to tell you guys about links. Sorry, I got distracted. I get distracted when I read. I'm not as good as like some of these other, like Dr. Morgan is unbelievable. She can do this and never lose her train of thought. I can't. So if I don't know about string beans. String beans should be fine. The string beans, as far as not being they're a good carbohydrate. As far as them pulling the zinc out of your dog's body, that I'm not sure about. It's mostly the rices and stuff that do. Yes, I see Hill's diet when it came over 2 years. I have put him on keto, so I have ear issues on multiple probiotics. Gut health swab showed yeast and bacteria yesterday. No obvious signs of ear infection, no inflammation or redness. Poor boy, my dogs only get keto foods. No carbs ever. Okay, so we could talk. Hopefully I'm going to give you the answer and what I'm talking about. So no inflammation or redness, but they pulled. Do you know what? So what my question would be to that is, what bacteria did they pull? What yeast did they pull? Because if your dog's not responsive, if there's no inflammation, no redness, no itching, no anything, it could just be his balance in his ear. Like I told you, we have to have. Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, we'll have to address that a little bit. I feed no salt green beans. Yeah, I think green beans are great. I love green beans. Okay. So looking at, I lost my train of thought. Okay. I got to stop doing that. But I still want you guys to ask questions, but I got to stop doing it. There is a huge amount of discharge deep in the ear. Yeah, like I said, my golden, sometimes she'll get a little bit of discharge in there, but no redness, no swelling, no anything. And I just don't worry about it. I just don't. She's not showing any signs. She's not scratching. She's not eating. There's nothing. It's not hot to the touch. You want to feel your dog's, because sometimes there can be just a tiny bit of inflammation and the ear will be really hot. So it's really easy to do if one ear looks different than the other. So if one ear or both ears look the same, but you think maybe one of them will be inflamed, touch the ear and check the if it feels hot, and then you'll know you have some inflammation. So what do you do about zinc? What do we do about zinc? I am not going to recommend to you guys that you all run out right now and go get zinc and start giving it to your dog. I really don't want you to do that, because I don't want you to, you don't know if your dog has a zinc a zinc deficiency. So don't go do that unless you want to go get a panel. But I'm not a big fan of feeding our dogs anything like just giving supplements. So there are some zinc. You can get some zinc drops that you can actually put in your dog's ears. I'm going to tell you, there's a couple things I'm going to tell you that I am in the works of. I'm always looking for new and better things that might work. Not because like the protocol that I'm going to show you guys absolutely works 100%. Every single client that I have had follow through. Now you guys have to be honest with yourself, because if you don't follow through, then no, it won't work. You have to be really diligent about it and go for it. And it doesn't always just kind of not take some time. It takes some time. But the clients that have followed through with it and have been diligent about it, it works. But there's a couple of things that I'm always looking at to see in case it works better or it works faster or if it's more convenient for this client when this one isn't this. So I'm always looking to have a billion tools in my toolbox. So there's two things that I'm going to talk to you guys about tonight, and both of them are things that I am working on. And I'll keep you guys updated on it. But in case you hear it out there, you can be like, oh, that was what Carrie's working on. I'm going to wait and see what she says in a couple of months, whether it worked or didn't work. So I'll share those with you later at the end of the night. So let's look at, so the zinc drops are one of them that I was going to tell you. Like I'm kind of looking into some zinc drops to be putting a couple of little zinc drops in the ear to see if it works, but I'm not, because I really think that zinc deficiency is more about the body than the ear, but I don't want to be that person who's like, no, that's stupid. I like to kind of try some things. So yeah, a lot of people don't know about zinc deficiencies and ear infections. And so we got to look at that. So let's talk a little bit about, food. When we talk about the food that I want you to feed your dogs, I love rotation diet. I think that is your best chance of making sure you don't have deficiencies. One of the reasons why people have deficiencies is because they get these allergy tests, and I'm not against them. I like them too. But people get these allergy tests and then they're like, oh, he can't have this because he's allergic to this, and he can't eat that because he's allergic to this, and And next thing you know, your dog's eating, which is going to be weird that I'm saying this, but let's say that the only thing your dog can eat is chicken. and the diet you chose was chicken and it had a bunch of carbohydrates in it, and you just kept him on it because he didn't have diarrhea, but he kept getting ear infections, and he could have a deficiency because he's not rotating. And depending on what vitamin and mineral you're talking about, but certain vitamin and minerals, they only stay in the body for a couple of days. Some will stay a couple of months. Some it's all over the place as to how long you are going to have these vitamins and minerals in your body. So rotating is a very good thing to do. My dogs rotate constantly. And when I say constantly, I don't mean once a month. I mean every day. My dogs don't eat the same thing every day. I doubt it. And there are some days where I'm not feeling well and I'm like, oh, I already have that. You can get that. But I'm constantly rotating so that I can make sure I'm not giving too much of this or too little of this or whatever it is, because they can't communicate to me in the way that we wish they could. Like, hey, I'm feeling a little lethargic. Maybe I'm iron deficient, right? They can't do that. So I have to kind of try to mimic nature as much as I can. And zinc is a very, very important thing, especially when you look at the number one reason that we're going to vets: ear infections and skin problems, right? Allergies, all of this itching and stuff. Zinc plays a vital role in our skin, a very vital role in our skin. So we want to either run either go check your dog's zinc and see if he's deficient, but that's going to be hard to do, or start feeding them a diet that has enough zinc in it, that has high zinc, and foods that are not pulling the zinc out of your body, out of your dog's body. The reason I'm not worried about you feeding a food that's high in zinc is because the body knows what to do with food. And so it will waste, and zinc will come out when, it doesn't need it, and it's soluble, so it can come out. But you just got to be really careful. So I'm going to talk to you guys about my protocol. Here's what I'm going to say before I go into this protocol. I know it's the moment you guys have all been waiting for. What does Carrie do with ear infections? That was my drum roll. I was trying to do a drum roll for you guys, and I scared my cat. But before I do, know that this protocol only works if you do all of them. All of them. Okay. So I'm going to start with one of the diets that I recommend, and I'll tell you why I recommend it. I love keto diets. I think they're great. There's a lot of great companies out there, and I want you guys to know, because I have to, as my disclaimer, I recommend a lot of different foods. And sometimes this food isn't what works all the time, and then I might have to move it up a little bit. But in general, the food that I'm gonna share with you guys tonight, I'm gonna tell you why I recommend this one. But if it wasn't working, we would have to move around. So you guys have probably heard that I love small batch. I'm trying to get this on there in case you guys need to know. So there's small batch, but particularly I like small batch beef. And the reason why is because we're dealing with ear infections, and beef has a very good source of zinc in it. And so I recommend small batch beef, but that's not the only reason that I recommend small batch beef, because most people would be like, cool, I'm just going to switch my dog over to beef. And then you're also going to then respond with, I wish I could do beef, but my dog's allergic to beef. So, which is a whole nother topic. And let me just tell you that I feed my dog currently foods that his allergy report came back positive. So don't get too wrapped up in these allergy tests. They're there for a good reason, and they can be used in a very good way, but don't get too obsessed with them. It's more about treating your dog and not the paper in front of him. And so my dog, for example, is allergic to beef, and I do feed him beef. And that's another topic, so I can't get into it too much. So that was my cat, one of my cats. So the other reason that I recommend small batch beef particularly, and I like the frozen because it's cheaper, although that's a freeze-dried bag, because it's less expensive for the frozen, but also because in small batch, they put garlic and they put apple cider vinegar. And that's kind of now you could do that yourself. You could go get a beef food that you like and add your own apple cider vinegar and your own garlic. But this just makes it easier. And I'm pretty busy, probably like all of us here. And so it's just easier for me because I know it has a little bit of garlic in it, has a little bit of apple cider vinegar in it. And that actually helps balance the pH in your dog's body. The apple cider vinegar does. And the pH level is super, super. Fresh garlic is awesome. Garlic actually will help keep things at bay. Rabbit, kangaroo, and boar raw frozen from Ontario make bone broth. so awesome. I love it. I love it. You guys are amazing. So that's why I recommend doing small batch, because I like the garlic in there. I really want to have the apple cider vinegar in there so I can balance some pHs. Trying to make sure that we're keeping that all under control. And I've got really good results from it. Okay. Now, for those of you guys, I guess you probably wouldn't be here if your dog didn't have Dr. Moore did a talk on fresh garlic November 10th on his Facebook page. I'd have to look at it. I'm not sure. By the way, the groups of us don't always agree. Like, I don't know. I'm sure Dr. Morgan is in support of garlic, but sometimes we don't agree. And I hope that you guys all know that's okay. If you're following, there's like, I call it the little group, like the vets that come on my show and stuff. We don't always agree. And I think that's a good thing, because we all have different experiences, guys. And in different parts of the country, there's different problems and there's all sorts of stuff. But I would imagine that most of you guys are here because your dog's ears are goopy and yucky and itchy, and you're having this constant struggle that you're dealing with and you don't know what to do. So I am going to talk about cleaning your dog's ears, because once they are goopy and swollen and painful, we want to clean their ears. So what are we going to do? I like to clean them out. She does. I was going to say, oh no, is she against garlic? When you posted that, I thought you were trying to say that Dr. Morgan was against garlic. So I love garlic. I've been giving my dogs and my cats garlic for years. I love Bones & Co. company. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think it's a great company. But I would say that it depends on your dog's age. It depends on your dog. It depends on your dog's activity level. It depends on, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that once I know a dog more, then I can give a better recommendation for what I think they should eat when we're talking about something like a keto, because keto is a very high fat diet and a high protein diet. So we, in the wild, I know I'm going to get off track here and then I'm going to share some stuff with you. But real quick, so I don't lose track of this, in the wild, our animals do eat what would be considered a keto diet, right? That's what they eat in the wild. But in the wild, our animals run and they burn off a lot of fat during the hunting process. So while I love keto and my dogs eat that company that you're talking about right now too, it's in their rotation, but it is not their everyday food. So, because my dogs are getting older, they're not running around like they used to, like puppies. So I rotate around. Okay. So you got these disgusting, smelly Frito smelling ears, and you need to clean them. What are you going to do? Okay. There's a couple things that I do, and it works. First, I like to clean ears with, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. So with coconut oil and a little bit of water is the only thing really that I would put in there as far as cleaning and getting it depends on how goopy they are and gross. So if it's really bad infection and it's swollen and your vet's already looked at everything and you already know and you're going to clean it out, I like to use coconut oil and water. Yes, absolutely, Becky. Absolutely. I hope that you would. Absolutely. But it also depends on your dog's gut microbiome, because if their gut is off a little bit, then it's hard to switch because your dog's gut isn't where it needs to be. But if he's been eating raw for a long time, he should be fine. Garlic can be toxic if too much, it says on AKCs. Yeah, no, it's getting into the garlic conversation is another really kind of in depth, but anything in too much obviously can be, but I think that their numbers are way off. By the way, I just think that those numbers are way off. Dr. Karen Becker posted a study a while back talking about the study that said that garlic was bad for you. And the amount was enormous before they even got a dog that was a little bit sick. So I disagree. I think that, you want to keep it in smaller amounts, but I do think that 15 to 30 grams is a little too, crazy. I think you could probably do more than that. But you only need to do as much as you need, right? So you didn't, and how do I know how much I need, right? you're trying to keep fleas off of your dog. You're trying to keep them just in generally healthy. So, you know, you don't need to do a lot. So don't think, oh my God, more is better. You just need a tiny bit. And if that happens to be 15 grams, great. If you're giving your dog 15 grams and you see some fleas, give them a little bit more. If you see it at 30 grams and you still seeing fleas on your dog and things aren't good, then go ahead. But thank you. There's a lot there that you can do. And both of those guys are fabulous. I think they're both really brilliant, fabulous people. So, all right. So let's talk about cleaning their ears and when we're going to do it. So we already talked about how once our ears are clean and done, we're not going to keep doing it. We're only cleaning ears because our dog has an infection and we want to help it along in getting it better. So that's the only time we're going to clean ears is if we have an infection. Otherwise, we're going to leave it alone. So coconut oil in water is really, really good because it breaks up the, sometimes you could get like just really hard. And I see some of the most crazy ears. So I've seen some really gnarly stuff. But the coconut oil in water is really amazing because it actually breaks it up very easily. You want to pour it in, not pour it. You want to put a little bit in your dog's ear and then you're going to rub the base and you're going to kind of mush, and it'll start to come out. Okay. But now you have a greasy, oily mess. You have this greasy, oily mess all over your dog's face because it came out, depending on what kind of dog you have. Now you have an oily mess. What are you going to do? Now you're going to need to take some kind of a shampoo or, and you can really use anything. You want to be really careful. This is the other reason why I don't like to use ear cleaners on dogs' ears, particularly a dog who's wiggly, because a lot of those ear cleaners have alcohol in them. They have all sorts of stuff that are probably won't hurt the ear as far as like your dog's not going to go deaf. It hurts the ear other ways. But a lot of times what happens is people are trying to clean the dog's ear and it leaks out of the ear and into the eye. And then you end up with a dog who's now blind. Sorry, guys. Ansel, come on. Come here. Come here. Get up here. No, that was me. Get up here. There you go. Sit down. There's my dog. Okay, we know. Thank you. So you can end up with, honey, stop. You end up, now I lost my train of thought again. Sorry. I'm so mad at my friend right now. He keeps coming in the door and he knows it's going to make my dog bark. Okay. So what did I say? End up with, I don't know. Cleaning the dog's ears. So now you got this greasy mess. You need to use some kind of a shampoo. I like to use just like a mild puppy shampoo or something, not in the ear. I'm talking about around your dog's face. Okay. So all around your face, that oil is going to be a mess. If you're really cleaning that dog's ear, you're going to have this oil. Thank you. But the alcohol and stuff can get into the eye. So you got to be careful. Thank you, Sherry. Yeah. So those cleaners that you're putting in the ear and then mushing it all around can actually leak and get into your dog's eye. So be really, really careful. Although I don't think you should use them at all because I don't like that they're alcohol based and they have all of these other problems. So use like a mild puppy shampoo or something because the oil from the coconut oil is going to make a mess. So you're going to use something to break up that oil and to get it off of your dog's face. But what are you going to do about inside the ear, right? You want to leave that coconut oil in there. Sometimes you can. It's not a bad thing to leave a little bit of coconut oil in there. It won't kill anything or really cause any kind of problems. But this, ladies and gentlemen, is called Nui Gear. And they make a shampoo that is filled with all sorts of enzymes. It has no sulfates. It doesn't do anything to kill anything. What it does is what it's going to do is it's going to provide your dog's ear canal with good bacteria. So instead of us wiping, killing all the good bacteria along with the bad bacteria, we're actually going to be putting in some good bacteria in there. But it doesn't suds up. So you need to know that going in, like you are not going to have your dog's ear all sudsy and soapy because it doesn't have all of the shampoos and the dyes and all of that stuff in there. So what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of wash the ear out a little bit so you don't have all that coconut left over. And then you're going to just take like a cotton ball and you're going to dry it. Can you type the name of that? Lori's got it up there for you. So it should have all of the stuff where you can what it is. And then I have some really cool surprises for you guys at the end of this. But so you're going to take that good bacterias, and you're going to wash out the ear with the good bacterias. That stuff is not strong enough, though. I know you're probably thinking, why didn't she just tell me to wash the whole face with it? You can wash your whole dog's body in this. It's a brilliant shampoo because it is so good at keeping your dog's skin microbiome healthy, all of those kind of things. So, but it is not strong enough to break through the coconut oil. So if you've got coconut oil down on the cheek because you were trying to clean out all of the stuff, then that won't be strong enough to do it. So the Nui Gear, you put that in the ear and you can kind of clean it out that way. Then you're going to dry out the ear canal with just I like to get those little cotton rounds and then just stick your finger around it and then just wipe out any leftover water or whatever, just so that your canal can be the way that it needs to be. And then I have a little secret for you that I'm super excited about. There's two ways you can do this. So Nui Gear also makes what's called their lotion. So they have their shampoo, and I wish they wouldn't call it lotion, but they do call it lotion. And but it really isn't, like you and I think of lotion as like creamy white lotion. I don't know why they call it lotion. It's actually very clear. And that lotion is also a whole bunch. I'm so sorry. That lotion is also a whole bunch of bacterias. And so you can put, after you dry out your dog's ear, take that same cotton round and put some of that Nui Gear lotion on your cotton round and wipe your dog's ear out, leaving behind the residual bacterias and enzymes into the ear to start balancing out your dog's ear. So amazing stuff. It's what I use constantly. There are some other things you can use. Nui Gear is one of the things that I use. The other thing, now this is interesting. So because, by the way, some of these companies don't use don't like Small Batch, for example, is not going to say this is the food you should feed for ear infections. So don't get mad at Small Batch if you go, I bought your product and it didn't work for the ear infections. This is my protocol that I put together. So some of the stuff that I'm talking to you isn't going to say for ear infections on it. It's just that over 40 years of me working with animals, I finally came up with a protocol that's, I'm just going to say it, freaking amazing. Okay, so this is Ion. This company is brilliant at putting together, not only for our pets, but for our human side. Mostly the human side is what they started out with. Some amazing probiotics, soil-based probiotics. And what I found, so I bought this for me a while back just to spray on my face, and because it's a soil-based, and that's all it is. And then, of course, me being the like I didn't go to school to be a scientist, but I'm not kidding you. When I get into a dog's ears, I'm like a little nerdy scientist. Like I want to learn all about the bugs and the germs and this and that. Like I just nerd out on it. So I bought this for my face. And then of course, like as soon as it came, I was like, oh my God, this would be so great for dogs' ears. Because all it is a soil-based probiotic. And so guess what we're going to do? As soon as we're done cleaning those ears, we are going to replace all of the bacteria. So depending on how bad your dog's ear is, I do both, because both the Nui Gear lotion and the Ion are different bacterias. And so I will do both. I will put a little bit of the Nui Gear lotion in there, and I put a little bit of the Ion in there, and I leave it. I let it dry. I let it do its thing. It takes usually just a couple of months if everybody follows the full protocol, which I'm not done yet. I know we talked about diet change, which obviously has to be number one. Zinc deficiencies are a big probably one of the biggest causes. But it's really hard for me to just tell people. I'm opening a package because I'm going to show you guys. You've probably heard of this product. But now, if you are going to be cleaning your dog's ears and he's got the ear infections, you can do it every day so long as you are putting in your bacterias and leaving them in there. Don't wipe them out. Just you can even spray this, kind of like if you hold your dog's ear up and just kind of spray it around. I would do it on Ansel, but remember I told you I don't mess with good ears at all. And even though I know this is a good bacteria, why do I want to put it in? Maybe it's not the right bacteria for his ears. His ears are perfect. But I was going to show you, if you spray this into your dog's ears, just know it's going to scare them. So I don't like to spray it there. I like to put it on a little cotton round and kind of wipe it into their ears. Okay. So I know in the beginning of this, I told you I want you to separate your dog in terms of thinking, separating your dog's gut from your dog's ear so that you can think of your dog's ear as its own microbiome, because it has its own bacteria that live in there. But I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the gut and talk about, because that's how the ear gets fed. The ear is going to get fed also by making sure that the gut is working and the bacteria can go to all the places they need to go to. So we do need to talk about the gut. Nutrition was the first thing we need to talk about, is changing the diet and what that means to change the diet, right? We want to make sure we're not eating nothing. If you have a dog with an ear infection, somebody had asked me earlier about sweet potato. If you have a dog with chronic ear infections, get rid of your sweet potato. Get rid of anything and everything that can feed yeast in the body. At least from my experience, most ear infections are not just a yeast infection. They're usually both. And that's because there hasn't been any bacteria in there to keep them either at bay. And so both the bad bacteria and the yeast just have a party in your dog's ears. So most dogs' ear infections are caused by both a yeast infection and a bacterial infection. Okay, so this is another product created by Julianne Lee, who I just adore. And if you haven't had a chance to meet her or listen to her, she's just such a fabulous person. I just enjoy her so much. So she created this product. It is made by Julianne Lee, and it is a product called Adored Beast. And I can't stress enough how important it is to not mess up. You need to really... Don't do this where you're like, oh, I'll start it for 3 days and then I'll go on vacation, and then when I come back, I'll start it. Don't do that. It is very important that if you're going to use this product, that you use it in exactly the way it says and don't mess up. There's 3 things that it comes with. And I always say you kind of stack them up like this, if you think about it, because for the first day, you're going to give a couple of drops based on your dog's weight and everything. You're going to give them a couple of drops of this. And then 3 days later, you're going to give them a couple of drops of this, but then you're going to give them a couple of drops of this. And then 3 days later, you're going to give them a couple of drops of this and a couple of drops of this. Not every 3 days, but every 3 days, you're adding something else. You're going to do this every day. But every 3 days for the first 6 days, you're going to start only with one, then add this every day. And then on the 6th day, you're going to start adding in this. And then you're going to continue that until every bit of it is gone. And between putting in the probiotics and making sure that there's not a zinc deficiency, this is called Yeasty Beast, and it's made from Adored Beast. And it's simple to do. It is not like, oh my God, I got to pin my dog down and I got to do this and I got to do that. And it's not like that. It's just a couple of squirts in the mouth. And then the probiotic, what Julianne has done, which I love that she, she's such an educator and I've learned so much from her, is understanding that if you try to add in a probiotic into a gut that is just so riddled and the liver's not working properly and everything is just not working properly, sometimes it just pushes those bacteria out again. That's why a lot of times people are like, I'm doing it. I'm feeding all of this probiotic and it's not working. And it's because the environment that you're trying to put it into, it's blocked. And so that's why it's important that you do this protocol exactly the way it is, because she's trying to set the gut up for when she starts to introduce, and I say she, like she's going to come, well, she would probably, so that when you start to add the probiotics, it's in a better environment and so that it wants to live there. It made my dog super anxious and she felt sick. I have done the probiotics. Do you mean like which probiotics? I don't know if it's these. The leaky gut protocol is also awesome. Yeah, it depends. Most dogs probably do have it. And Jennifer makes a good point about probiotics. And it's one of the problems that people who are studying bacterias and probiotics and things are struggling with, because the gut it's really, really hard to know exactly what bacteria your dog's gut needs. And we could potentially be adding in bacteria that he doesn't need and that he might have too much for. That's always a risk that we take in trying to figure out which bacteria is to do. It's why Julianne is such a big, big, big believer. And she's not the only one. I mean, if you read anything, even for pre-treatment for 3-year rabies, I won't forget. So she's such a big supporter in rotating and changing and doing different probiotics, because it's really hard to know everything about each dog, and this is going to work for his gut. And so there is actually a test. I don't know if you tried the test. It's a test created by based on turkey tail mushrooms and wild wolves. Yeah. There's a test out there called the animal biome test, which is a really helpful test in letting us know what's going on. Sometimes your dog doesn't need a probiotic. This is interesting. Sometimes what your dog needs is a prebiotic to start feeding the already existing probiotics that are in there that just need a little boost. And so surprisingly, sometimes you can just simply do prebiotics, and you can do prebiotics yourself by doing, actually, if your dog has an ear infection, I don't want you to do too much spinach, because spinach actually can pull zinc as well. So we want to be really careful with certain foods that we're feeding, but it's not too bad with the spinach. But you could be doing, I'm trying to think of some other bananas are a great prebiotic. So you could be just feeding some bananas to your dog. That's pretty amazing. My dogs eat bananas probably every day. The crack of the banana goes absolutely insane. My animals go crazy when they hear a crack of a banana. So you might want to start, instead of doing probiotics. I'm not sure who said that their dog got really upset. Anxious is really interesting to me because, anxiety is linked to gut bacteria. It absolutely is. And so it's super interesting that you noticed that about your dog, and I love it. You should be done first. Yeasty beasts or leaky gut, or have a gut biome test. Oh, it's so interesting. So it's also very, very interesting what to do. So you can have a gut that has leaky gut without a yeast problem, but you can't have a yeast problem without leaky gut, if that makes sense. So it's just kind of hard to understand. Like, the yeast is a big cause of leaky gut. So if you have a yeast problem, then you have leaky gut, most likely. But there's other causes of leaky gut. And so it's just kind of interesting, like, which comes first, which one should I do first? It's really hard to say, because you got to seal up that gut. I like to do the yeasty beast first. You peel any banana, they come running. Yeah, mine too. I actually have it on video. It's so funny. My dogs were sleeping and my husband peeled a banana, and I knew he was going to do it. So I grabbed the camera. It was pretty funny. Okay. So we are changing the diet. We discussed why and how. Making sure that we are treating that ear as if it's its own microbiome. We're not going to be using antibiotic wipes, antibacterial shampoos, anti this, anti that, anti this. Instead, we're going to be starting to use pro stuff. We're going to help the body through zinc, those kind of things. And then the sad part is, guys, and the worst part about this, and the hardest part about this, is you got to be patient. You got to be patient. It takes time for bacteria to grow. It takes time for them to attach to the skin. It takes time. And sometimes the stress we put on ourselves of it's not working, and I don't know. And then we want to do more, and we want to do more. And sometimes we just have to sit back and let it take time. If you're going to be using bacteria to grow, think about bacteria in a little petri dish, which is how I think of your dog's ear, which is, I know, weird, but I always think of your dog's ears when I'm cleaning them at work, and not yours in general, but in my clients. When I'm cleaning their ears, I think of it like a little petri dish, and it's fragile, and I got to be really, really careful, and I got to add just the right amount of bacteria, and I got to make sure that everything is feeding it the way it needs to feed it. So be patient. Just don't put too much stress on yourself, and don't put too much stress on your dog about it, because that stress can actually, Phytophthora I used and she was sick and anxious. I don't know if that's the same same person. If not, that's interesting to me, because I use her products forever, and I actually have had a couple that I had to say, oh, okay, let's back off. I actually recommend to my clients to use a small amount. Don't use the recommended amount right off the bat. Oh, sorry. I was just like, oh my gosh, is this like a thing? But I've always said, like when we're talking about like the little petri dish, if we even think of that as the gut, if I just I just landed a whole bunch of bacteria, it could cause a ripple effect. And so I always say, let's use like a little quarter of it, of the recommended amount, whatever they say. So a little less than what they say, and then build up to it. It's kind of like changing the diet. You want to build up to it. But there would be no reason. I'm not a big fan of using probiotics unless you have to. Yeah, sometimes, but there's no real reason for us to cause a dog to go into, one of my other favorite veterinarians, if you haven't listened to her, is Dr. Suter. And Dr. Suter, Odette Suter, talks about how, we all say that. And I used to be a real bit, it's just gotta, sometimes it's worse before it's better. And yes, that's sometimes true, but how long is it worse, right? We shouldn't be letting these dogs suffer. So if we can ease them into fixing them, and that's a better route for that particular dog. Same person. Oh no. It could be. It's just so hard. That's why I say don't let the paper be your guide. Let your dog and your cat be your guide. Listen to them. They'll tell you. I'll give you a perfect example. Like food, your dog will tell you. If your dog doesn't want to eat that, it may be it's bad. It also may be, hey, you know what? That has too much protein in it for me, and I don't need that much protein today. Or maybe he just didn't want to eat that day. My cat, who is a carnivore, absolutely wants to eat fiber all the time. And so I just started feeding her veggies, and now she's like the happiest cat ever. She stopped chewing on my clothes, all that kind of stuff, because she was chewing on my clothes. So the poop doctor, I'm so glad she's embraced that name. But Dr. Suter says a lot of times, like, we shouldn't have that. We shouldn't accept that it's going to get worse for too long. Like sometimes we might see a little reaction, but then we need to pull back. We don't just go, oh, he had this negative reaction, I'm just going to keep going and going and going. It means we need to pull back a little bit and go slower with it. And we need to do that. So 2 more things, guys, before I let you go. I told you that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how I'm always looking for something that might be more efficient for somebody, more effective for somebody, all sorts of different things that I can do. So this is and I hope she's on there. So this is a little product that I just recently bought, and I haven't had much chance to use it yet because I've just had a lot going on, and then the holidays happened, and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, this is what is light therapy. So it is called, hold on one second. It is called Photonic Health Multi, PHOTONIC Health. And I can get you guys connected with the person that I got this from if you want. I think she can give you some discounts. I don't sell it, but I haven't used it yet. So I can't tell you that it works, but it's something that I'm working at. And I'll tell you why I think it's so interesting. So we know, you guys probably know through, I'm showing you the different color lights that it does. So it does green, it does red, and it does blue. But you guys probably heard how during COVID, they were using light therapy to kill bacteria. And we know that can happen. Like science has proven that certain lights can kill bacteria. And so I'm very interested in it because I don't have to put anything in the canal. I don't have to do anything. I just can't tell you yet. I more wanted to share it with you guys because I want you to know how much I am so interested. You used it for pain. Yeah. So I'm really excited, but I want you guys to know that, and always trust me. I don't like just, oh, somebody wants me to talk about their product. I have to have actually seen it work, like physically watched it work and know that it works. That also doesn't mean that if I sit up here and tell you, I know that this works, that it absolutely 100% will work on your dog. But I will tell you this protocol that I use for dogs with ear infections, it has not failed. The only time it has failed, and I should say it has, is when clients, I know they're not following through. Absolutely. Um, and a lot of them will admit it to me finally. They'll be like, yeah, okay, well, I went out of town. And I'm like, oh, see, now we got to start over. Now, I will say this about the adored beast, in some pretty rare, really heavy cases, like long term, this dog's got like hematomas and it's just been a long, long, long time problem. I've had to do the protocol twice. So I've gone through it 2 times. Sometimes I have mixed it where I've done the animal biome gut pills, the poop in a pill. I've done that mixed with the adored beast. So sometimes I have to move around and alter and do things. But in general, if you are adding probiotics into the ear and you're increasing your zinc and you are staying away from carbohydrates and you detox the liver, allowing the liver to actually to regulate the body a little bit better. Because sometimes the liver, that's what the adored beast does, is got some liver tonic in it, which is going to help get the liver back going so it can do its job, because that's what it's supposed to be doing, is getting all of these toxins and stuff out of the body. So the other thing, and this is only going to be to a few of you, so I super apologize. And it's only a matter of time. I'm actually a big supporter of this company and told them that I will do anything and everything I can to make sure that these are available in every city, in every town, in every country in the world, if I can. But if you are fortunate enough, and if you're one of my clients, guess what? You are very fortunate, because we are the only one in Orange County. But if you are fortunate enough to have a groomer or possibly a veterinarian, but it's doubtful, veterinarians poo-pooed this. And so they started going to people like me. And if you can find a groomer or veterinarian that has a micro bubbles machine, it's called TheraClean or a micro bubbles machine. There's different companies that provide them, so it doesn't have to be from TheraClean. Micro bubbles is another amazing tool in my toolbox to help with ear infections. And it used to be I would do this protocol on some of the worst cases ever, and it would take me about 8-9 months to a year to get the ear infection under control. But now with microbubbles, I can get it under control fairly quickly in about 2 months. So if you have somebody who has a microbubbles, what microbubbles does is it is an bunch of little nano bubbles. And it's very interesting because I just found a video about how they're going to be using these micro bubbles for cancer patients, for human cancer patients, because of how amazing they are. The problem is they're just trying to get everything FDA approved. So in other countries, they're starting to use it, but it's amazing. It causes no pain to your animals. It causes no discomfort. You don't have to use anything. Now, I use it with Nui Gear shampoo, but what it does is these little, like, you can't even see these bubbles. There's so billions of them that come out of this machine, and they go down into the hair follicle of your animal or the first layer of the skin. And because they're oxygen filled, the machine does that for you. It pulls the bubble up, and when the bubble comes up, which your dog won't even feel, my hands are in this all day long, I don't feel anything, nothing. You feel nothing. It feels like your hands are in water, but it turns into a creamy, milky white water because that's how many bubbles are in there. But when those bubbles come back up out of the hair follicle, it attracts different, the ions attract different whatever it is, oils or whatever it is that might be trapped into that hair follicle. So it pulls it out. It does amazing at ear infections. So if you have a dog who's been suffering for a long period of time, you can either buy the machine, which I'm not going to lie, the machine is not cheap. I think it's like $10,000. And if you are thinking of doing it, I would do it quickly, because once this gets FDA approved, and once, in fact, I'm trying to save enough money right now to buy a second machine before they end up being $50,000, because I'm guessing that's what's going to happen. So they've been using them in Japan for a very long time. But if you are fortunate enough, or if you want to drive to Orange County or whatever I can do to help you, I highly, highly recommend that you find somebody with a microbubbles machine. and see if you can get them to put the microbubbles in your dog's ear, because that will accelerate. Sorry, I can't even speak tonight. That will accelerate your dog's ear healing unbelievably rapidly. The only problem is that if you are going to be driving a long period of time, it's not a one-time treatment. You need to do it about 6 times. I have used ozone, and I'll tell you why I don't anymore. So, and I think ozone is fabulous. And if you have an ozone machine or a groomer who's willing to, although I'm going to ask you not to encourage your groomers to use the ozone machine for their own health. So my husband happens to be a safety engineer, and so he works in a lot of that stuff for the courthouses here in Orange County. And so I started, I was using ozone machines, and it was doing great. I was getting good results. But I work in what I call my therapy bathroom. And so I have 3 bathtubs at work, and one of my rooms is considered therapy. And that's where I do all my science projects. It's where I spend most of my life there. I stopped. I absolutely think that the ozone machines are great. If you have one, I would absolutely put that in your dog's ear if he's having problems with his ears. I stopped using ozone because I do an enormous amount of dogs every single day. And it really started to make me think, like, I'm going to risk my life to help these dogs' ears and skin problems. And that's when I started looking. There had to be something better. There had to be something I could use that I wasn't breathing ozone all day, every day. And so I stopped using ozone, and now I use the microbubbles. And to be honest with you, I get better results, better results with the microbubbles than I did the ozone. But I do think that ozone works. I've seen it work. I think it's great, but be careful what you're breathing, Jennifer, because my husband went in there and brought his little ozone detector machine, and he said it wasn't at the really risky levels, but if you're around it a lot, you are breathing in some ozone, and you can possibly have some problems with your lungs. So you want to be careful. But that's the only reason I stopped using ozone. The laser light, I think Lori found it for us and put it up. It's Phototonic Health Multi. So Lori can put it up again for you, or I could take a picture of it. So anyway, there it is. And so what you would do is you would just hold, but again, I have not used this yet. You may see me in here talking about it someday, but I haven't seen it. I haven't used it enough to know for sure that it works. So anyway, oh, good. Okay. So you have a monitor. Okay, good. Yeah. I just was nervous because it's like, we're talking, I'll do, 30 dogs a day, and I had to be careful. So I had to pull out. So I was so happy to find the microbubbles. It works really great. So, all right, guys. I hope that was super helpful. And please keep me updated if you are finding that you are moving your food around, or you took your dog in and you got a zinc test and you found out that the zinc was really low. Probably they have these big mats that they sell. So the ear cleaner, the coconut oil, not necessarily, it's just for ear cleaning. So it's not like something that the dog is actually eating. So honestly, I did buy a coconut oil, the liquid coconut oil. And then it's actually mostly water. It's actually mostly water. You need, honestly, it's probably 10% coconut oil that I put in there and 90% water. So pre-treatment for 3 rabies. Yeah, Lily, I gotta, 3-year rabies vaccine, lysine, or now I'm in kind of I use a vet here locally, and I can't remember which one she uses. And so I can't tell you, because I can't remember which vaccine she uses. I just know we had talked about it quite a bit, making sure that it didn't have any of the, preservatives in it and stuff. So that's what I just trust her. So I just kind of defer to her. So I'm sorry. I have to look into it further to see which one she's using. And there's a lot to know. And that's the other thing people don't know. When you are talking about a rabies vaccine, people just go to their vet, and their vet could be using the cheap. We don't assume that that there's different rabies vaccines, right? You just think, oh, it's a rabies vaccine. So we just go in and we get a rabies vaccine. But to the point of Lily, there are different rabies vaccines, and you do want to know the difference. Most holistic vets will be using the good ones without all the preservatives and stuff in it. Yeah. You just definitely want to have get rid of all of that stuff out of the vaccine. So you want to ask, be surprised at how many vets don't even know what they're using. Holistic vets in Orange County. So we have a little bit of a problem there, being that the word holistic is thrown around a lot. Somebody that I know who won the best holistic veterinarian in Orange County not too long ago, I didn't think she was holistic at all in any sense of the word. So it's really hard for me to recommend in Orange County because we don't really have any. There is a fabulous vet in LA called Dr. Vulgaris, who I really, really like. You can reach out to her. You can find her at the the Orange County Animal Wellness Center in Costa Mesa. She comes down to Costa Mesa, I think 3 times a week. I know she's there on Wednesdays because that's why I haven't had her on the show, because I do it on Wednesdays at 4 and she can't. So I keep telling her we're going to pick a different day and do it. But her name is Dr. Vulgaris, and you can find her at the Animal Wellness Center of Orange County Animal Wellness Center. Now, here's the other thing I will say that's integrative is a great word. It's being used the same as holistic. So to me, integrative, what I would like integrative to mean is that I don't use harmful products, but I also can use maybe an antibiotic if I need to. So a truly holistic homeopathic veterinarian may never, ever, ever use anything, and it works for them. But when you're talking about integrative or holistic, the problem is they call themselves integrative, but then they sell flea and tick medication. They sell, they'll give the horrible rabies vaccines. They will, give your dog heartworm medications when they don't need them, and all sorts of stuff. So we have to be really careful with what that means. One of the things I teach my clients is know what you want, what you need, what's important to you, and find a veterinarian. It's easier to find a veterinarian that may not do that with all her patients, but she's willing to do it for you. And that's probably the easier bet for you, because to find I could name them all off, to be able to find a Katie Woodley or a Dr. Suter or a Dr. Morgan or, I'm so sorry, a Dr. Bug, to be able to find one of those veterinarians in every city, it's not going to happen. So you're better off looking at knowing what you want. Like, I'm not going to come here if you're going to force vaccines down my dog. I'm not going to come here if you're going to, try to sell me flea and tick medication. You find what you want and then find a vet who's willing to work with you. That's your best bet. One of those vets that I would recommend would be Dr. Leong. And so she would be somebody that if you wanted to feed a raw diet, she's not going to ensure. She's at Tustin Care Animal Hospital. She's not going to go, oh my God, I can't believe you're feeding your dog a raw diet. You're going to kill him. If you said, you know what, I really don't want to give the Bordetella vaccine, she would be like, perfect. Don't do the Bordetella vaccine. So those are easier to find, those vets, than there are to find the truly holistic veterinarian that we all search for and hope. And if you ever find one that wants to move to Orange County, let me know, because I would love to partner with them. I tried to get Dr. Dim to come out to Orange County a while back. I was like, just come move out here and then we can open up together. But it is really hard, and it just hold your guns, because if we can stick together, maybe we can teach these vets something. If you guys can clear up your ear infections and you've been seeing a regular vet and this works, share it with your vet, whether they hate it or not. Usually they'll say, oh, you just got lucky. But the more we talk about it, the more we share, the more communication we have, the better chance these animals have, because really it all comes down to them, right? They're suffering, they're in pain. I'm gonna share one story with you guys and I'm gonna let you go. I had a friend, and she has since passed on. So Teresa, I'm going to tell your story. I'm sorry, but I had a really, really good friend of mine. She was a client first. That's one of the things I love about my job. So many of my clients have become friends. They've been to my home. Like I love how close I have become to a lot of my friends. But Teresa became a very, very close friend of mine, and then she died of lung cancer. But before she passed away, she had this dog named Cosmo, she had Cosmo and Peter, and both of them suffered from ear infections, but Peter suffered a lot. He would get these raging ear infections, and he was a Great Dane mix. And I feel bad, because honestly, it was before I knew as much as I know now. But regardless, it happened. And so he had these chronic ear infections, and I would tell her, you have to, I still was feeding a raw diet, but raw diet is not your solution. It's part of it. It's not all of your solution. So she would try to feed a raw diet, but he was a Great Dane mix. So he was huge and very expensive to feed him. And so she would fall off and back on and fall off and back on. And his ear would get a little better. And we fought forever with this poor guy. He was such an amazing dog. And he only had 3 legs. But anyway, one day she came to me and, she said, "Oh my God, Carrie, I had an ear infection this last week, and it was the most painful thing I have ever experienced." She said it was just awful. And she was like, "I will never feed my dog." It was sad. I don't think she realized, because dogs don't show their pain. That doesn't mean they're not in it. They just don't express their pain the same way that we express our pain. So she just thought maybe it wasn't as painful as her, but when she had that ear infection, she was like, "Oh my God, I will do whatever it takes to get rid of this poor guy's ear infection." It was so awful. So I'm leaving you guys with that, because they are painful. Your dog does have nerve endings in his ear, and they are preventable and they are curable. So don't give up. Just separate the gut from the ear and start treating the ear as if it's the gut. No more antibiotics, no more all of this stuff. We got to get that gut back, the ear bacteria to grow back into the ear. I will tell you this. I am working very hard to identify ear bacteria, so I know exactly what name it is. I'm trying to find a biologist right now. You may have seen my post where I was like, "I need a microbiologist. Somebody help me, please. I need to start identifying these bacteria," because I want to nerd out on it. Oh, I told you guys I had something super exciting. I didn't even tell you. I'm so excited. Oh, also, I am working with Lori, who's behind the scenes with me, and we are trying to put together an online store. What I want to do and how I want to set it up is when you want to get something, that you would also get a consultation with me. So you'd get 15 minutes. We'd sit down, we'd go over it. You do this, you do that, you da. And then all you have to do is just purchase the product from me. You don't have to pay me for the 15 minutes. You don't have to do anything. You just help me by purchasing the product from me, because you can get these products anywhere. I know you can. Just so you know, as far as when I do start selling products, I sell products in my store now. My store is a boarding facility, a daycare, a grooming facility. I'm an esthetician, and we do nutrition. So the good thing about this online store is that I will be able to keep the prices down, I hope, extremely low, because it's not my only source of income, because I have the boarding and the daycare. So we can draw a little bit from everything to pay everybody. So I'm hoping I can get these prices down unbelievably low for you guys. That's my hope. And I'm still working on it. The online store isn't up yet, but it will be. But for tonight, and tonight only, I had already talked to my staff, and I said, if anybody wants to get the products from me, can we ship it out? We don't have all the shipping stuff done yet, so I don't know what shipping costs and all that, and I'm not even going to worry about it. So you guys are going to get like crazy free shipping. I can give you guys 15% off of the products. I don't know how much they are though right now. You'd have to call the store, and that's the other bummer. If you want to get the Nui Gear shampoo and you want to get the Adored Beast from me, I can give you guys 15% off. And here's the really great thing. The first 6 people, if there is even 6 people here, the first 6 people, and I only say that because this is what I was offered. So I talked to Nicole from Small Batch, and she is sending me 6 free bags of the freeze-dried Small Batch. And so if you call the store and you want to buy the Yeasty Beast from me, or the Nui Gear shampoo from me, or whatever, if you call the store and you purchase something, the first 6 people are going to also get a free bag of the 14-ounce. Like, this is a big bag of the 14-ounce freeze-dried patties of Small Batch. So you just got to call the store. Tell them, I got to come up with a code. Tell them no more ear infections is your code. So just call the store and say, "Hey, I listened to Carrie last night on Your Pet's Life Coach, and she said that if I buy a product, I also get a free bag of the Small Batch, whatever." And then they'll give you 15% off. So the store opens at 7 a.m. in the morning. Oh, tomorrow's Saturday, so we don't open until 6. Till 8. And we're only going to do that for 1 week because this is going to get replayed. So I would say if it's something that you guys want, if you want to get the Yeasty Beast, I can give you 15% off of it. It's not going to come in a big, beautiful package because I'm not done yet with all of our online stuff that we're going to be doing. So it won't come in a beautiful package. It won't come in any special way. I don't know. I'm going to find a box because right now we're not hooked up with UPS yet. So I'm going to just have to take it down to UPS, which is great. Yeah. So we're going to ship it to you guys as just kind of a like an introductory offer as to, our online store that I'm so excited about because I want to be able to offer people guidance when they have these products that they're using. So there you go. Thank you, Lori. Yeah, you can call the store tomorrow and then they know they'll give you 15% off. And then I can only give 6 of these away. So I can only give 6 of these away. So it would be the first 6 people. But the 15% will last all the way until next Friday. So we were calling it Friday the 13th week-long special. I don't know. So next Friday is the 13th. And so we're going to end it the 15% off it then because that's just like, we don't make a lot off of this. Trust me, we don't. And I'm going to give you guys free shipping. So go ahead and take advantage of that just for 1 week. I have the shampoo actually in stock, but I don't have the lotion. I actually couldn't believe it when I went today to get this to show you guys on screen. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm out of the lotion, probably because I use a ton of it. I'm constantly using it in my therapy baths and stuff. So, and I don't carry Ion. So I'm going to eventually, as we move further into doing some online stores, but I'm such a small company, guys, that it's really hard for me because I have to buy it. It's really, really hard for me to have too much stuff, and I'm working on it. But I don't carry Ion, but you can get Ion. And by the way, hello, remember I told you I bought it for my face? Amazing. It's so amazing. Like I just spray it like, before I go to bed or in the morning or whatever, you can spray it on. It's all it is good bacteria. So you think about how much, especially if you're a woman, or I shouldn't say that, especially if you're someone who wears makeup, you're constantly washing the makeup off, which is also doing that. And then we get dry, cracked skin and, wrinkles and all that kind of stuff. So I love the Ion spray on my face. So I should call that company and tell them they should give me I don't know how many of you guys are interested in this or going to buy it, but I should call the company and go, hey, but I don't do that. I'm not a sponsor for anybody. You should know that too. I do not sponsor anybody. I never will. I will endorse their product if I've used it and if I liked it and I've seen it work on my dogs. Not just I like this product, but I need to bring it into the spa. And then generally always what I do is if I have a new product that comes in, I'll get a bunch of my clients and I'll be like, hey, I have a client right now I'm doing a tester on. Hey, do you mind if I use your dog as a tester for this? And so that's how I decide whether I carry something. So which is why I told you very much so that I have not used this yet, but I'm very excited. I think it has super, super good potential, especially when I hear people saying that they used it for pain for their horses. I'm super, super excited. So anyway, I hope this was what you guys were hoping for. I hope it made all the difference. I hope you can share this, please, anywhere. I don't care who has my protocol, what they do, how they do it, when they do it. But please keep in mind, if you guys are starting this and it feels like it's not working, call me. Every once in a while, I have to tweak it just a little bit and work around different things and figure out different things that we can do. So sometimes we have to increase this or decrease this or add a little bit more of this, or sometimes even with Yeasty Beast, I've had people do it every other day instead of every day. And just give the gut time. So keep that in mind also. Also, another really, just real quick, because it came to my mind, and then I will let you guys go because it's 6:41. Gosh, 5, 6, almost 2 hours. Dang, I talk a lot. Goat's milk is another really amazing thing. If your dog has yeasty stuff in his skin, you can soak their paws in goat's milk. You can actually put it in their ears too, but don't, because it gets all milky and gross. Just use the Nui gear. Just use that or the Ion. So all right, guys, if there's not any more questions, I am going to go ahead and let you guys go. Make sure if you are, somebody said drive over, Becky, so just make sure you tell them you saw it on here and you get 15% off whether you come over or not. If you're having it shipped to you, remember I only have 6 of those bags. You're welcome. You're welcome. so I can only give 6 of those away, and I can't afford to give any more than that away, plus the discount on the stuff. So, all right, guys, I hope that was helpful. I will see you soon. Don't forget, I will keep you guys updated on the online store. I'm super excited about. That should be helpful to everybody. And then also, don't forget Wednesdays at 4:00. But next Wednesday, I will not be here. I'm actually going to Arizona. My mom, dealing with some of my mom's stuff. Dry goat milk to the paws. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Can you? Yes. Yeah, that's a good idea to use I forget about the dry goat's milk. So, yeah, you can. So, all right, guys, I am heading off of here. Hi, Maria. And I will see you guys. I won't be here next Wednesday because I'm going to be in my mom's taking care of my mom. My mom has early signs of dementia, so my sister helps take care of her, and I'm going to go give my sister a break. So I'm putting my sister up in a hotel so she can get a little break. So I won't be here next week because my mom doesn't have Wi-Fi at her house, and I just thought it would be better not to. And then in the next coming weeks, I'm going to be sharing a story with you guys. For those of you who don't know, I am writing a book about some of the crazy stuff in life that has happened through owning the spa. And in the next coming weeks, maybe days, maybe I'll do it this week, I don't know, I'm going to share a story about racism and hate. And the last story that I shared with you guys was about this fabulous client who was just amazing, and what that does to us when someone is that amazing. But I also want to share to you what hate can do, and how horrible it was, and how it came into the spa. And so I'm going to be sharing that story. It's going to be one of the stories that is going to be in the book that I'm writing. So I'm super excited. So I'll keep you guys updated. Thank you for following me. I do my best to try to come on as often as I can, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks when I get back from my mom's. Actually, it's just 1 week I'll be gone. And then when I get back, Lori, who do we have the following Wednesday coming up? You guys are going to be excited. I know I have a really good lineup coming up. Lori's going to tell me. Yeah, Dr. Margot is amazing. Actually, Dr. Margot, Dr. Roman, I'm sorry. She's been on my show before. We talk extensively. I actually almost got one of her puppies because I was going to use her poop so that it was closer here so that I could give it to my clients. But I just can't financially afford another dog right now. But I really wanted to, because then I could my dog has eaten her dog's poop. And I'll tell you a quick story I'm such a storyteller. I can't help it, but this is a good one. So Dr. Roman I flew her out here to come on my show a long time ago, and she brought her dog's poop with her on the plane. And so when I saw her, she stayed in a hotel, and she had to put the poop in the refrigerator in the hotel. So you may think twice before. Now, she had it in a little, I know. I wish my mom, that's a whole nother story. Diet, all of it. It's really hard when I'm not there, but you're right. But it wasn't an ice chest, but she did put it in the hotel refrigerator. And then when I picked her up from the hotel, she gave it to me. And then I couldn't get my dog to eat it. Like, I just put it on the floor, and it was for Nevada. I wanted her to eat it, and she wouldn't eat it. So I had to take a glove and shove it down my dog's throat. It was so gross. But anyway, yeah, my dog shares some of Dr. Roman's dog's poop. So funny story, right? Funny story. So Dr. Canizero is next week. Dr. Canizero, if you've seen me talk with her, she's the most passionate homeopathic veterinarian you probably ever will meet. She's really, really amazing. And then, as an added super bonus, we have the following week after that is Ruby with Real Doll Box. And Ruby and I are going to be talking about skin, and the diets that you need to be feeding, and the meats that are most important for the skin, why it helps the skin. We're going to be talking about vitamin D. We're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about collagen, and the importance of collagen, and why you need to be feeding organ meats. So we're going to be discussing all sorts of stuff about organ meats and collagen. And she's bringing a guest with her, somebody that I'm not real familiar with. So I'm super excited. So that's the following week after that. And if you haven't met Ruby from Real Dog Box, I would encourage you to follow her. She's a pretty amazing person. So If people would only listen. I know, right? I know. So anyway, I am going to let you guys go for sure. I'm hungry. My animals, I actually fed them before I came on because I knew I would talk a lot. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Keep in touch with me. If you have any other concerns or problems or something I can help you with, I'm always here. I'm a phone call away. Lori posted the phone for you. I can't always just jump on the call right away because I might have my hands knee deep in micro bubbles, which is awesome. But I will get back to you usually by the end of the day. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you soon. Make sure you share this, guys. This is such good information for people. Most people don't know about the zinc. So hopefully it'll help you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's not good with my mom, but I thank you. Yeah, I am so blessed to have my sister. My sister lives with my mom now, and she's helping, but she needs a break. So I got to go out there and give her a break. So I will see you guys soon. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Lori, in the background. Without her, none of us would be here. I could not do this without her. I'm lucky I even know how to use a mouse. So thank you guys very much. Lori, thank you. Thank you for posting everything up there for us. It means so much to all of us to have all that information posted. And I will see you guys soon. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye.